All right, one taking this, no scripting, no rehearsing. This is it. So, all right, disclaimer, this video is going to possibly piss people off if they're still in Alcoholics Anonymous. I've been out of it for 4 or 5 years, so I'm not breaking any anonymity. I'm not going to talk about other people. I'm just going to talk about my experience with it, what my opinions of it are now, and we're just going to leave it at that. So if you're still in there and this pisses you off, just try to have an open mind. All this is my experience with it, and for whatever reason, I didn't like the experience after some time. So I'll take it back. I abused drugs and alcohol too much in my early 20s for a few years. So uh, I went to my first AA meeting at like 22, and it was different. There was nothing, there was no resources for addiction back then. Like there wasn't, you could go to a rehab and all they tell you is, you know, go to a halfway house for 90 days, hit 90 meetings in 90 days, get a sponsor, do the steps, help other people, and everything will work out for you. And in reality, I don't think it does in AA. AA has a 3% less, actually, 3% is probably generous, success rate for 5 years sober. You know what else has the exact same success rate? Quitting on your own. Point being, I don't believe AA works. I think that when somebody gets sober, when they're done, when they're ready to be sober, they're sick of the pain, they're sick of the lifestyle, for them, not for other people, you can get sober anywhere. I got sober living in literally basically a crack house. That's how done I was. Any drug you want, still right there for you, but I was done. Anyways, so it was hard for me to relate to people in AA, and the first thing I noticed is people were super mean. Like all these old dudes come up and tell you what a piece of shit you are. Try not to cuss, but tell you, you know, how screwed you are, and they fill you with all this doom and gloom, and that there's no hope. Like I didn't receive any encouragement. I just received, you're not ready. You have a deadly disease that's a spiritual malady. You were born differently. And by the way, there are no genetics associated with addiction. There is no genetic addiction gene found. There are a cluster of genes that are found to be common in people with addiction types of behavior across the spectrum, though, and those genes make them more sensitive to emotions, chemicals, substances, that sort of thing. So, but other than that, there is no gene for addiction. People say this is genetic, you're born with it. I do not believe that. And now, so like I said, less than 3% chance of getting 5 years sober in AA, the same as if you quit on your own. You know what has a 70% chance? A 70% statistically recorded 5-year sobriety track record is the Sinclair method. It's a combination of, sorry if my chair's squeaking, it's a combination of a Vivitrol shot, which suppresses the cravings for alcohol, opiates, and then if you do take it, they're blocked so you don't get all the pleasure. And I went on that. I was in and out of, let's see, how much story do I tell here, but let me go back. So yeah, 23, went to AA, didn't relate to anything, was abused by a bunch of old dudes, was made to feel I'm screwed, I'm gonna die, there's no hope, I need to give up my identity, I need to give up my will. And so I did. And so I dove in, I was desperate. And let me be clear, AA did some great things for me too, particularly and most specifically the 9th step, where you go around and atone for things you did wrong. You don't just go and say you're sorry, you go and say, here's what I did. You're not crazy, it wasn't your fault. How do I fix it? Like, what can I do to fix it? And furthermore, if you took money, you don't show up and ask the person, can I pay you back? You show up with the money, because they're probably a decent person who's gonna say, no, you don't need to pay me back, just stay sober. You stole the money, you need to pay it back. So the 9th step is amazing. So is the 4th and 5th step, where you write essentially a list of all your secrets that you've never told anyone, and you tell that to someone that you can trust, and you will have a weight lifted off your shoulders like you've never experienced, and you'll find out pretty much everybody has done all the same stuff. So, damn it, I forgot where I was. But anyways, gave up my identity, and what that looks like is to give up your identity and join the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. It's not required. I'm not saying all this stuff is a requirement, but this is my interpretation of the steps, and the way I was taught the steps is you have to basically accept that you are born sick, you have an incurable disease that's going to take daily treatment, and if you don't do all those daily things, you're going to be drunk, and if you drink, you're going to die, and before you die, you're going to ruin your family's life, you're going to ruin your life. Really sick shit. one drink and you're dead, and you're always just one thought from one drink. Okay, clearly I have some emotional charge of not pleasant feelings towards this program, but anyways, you have to basically accept that you have no willpower, you have no control of this whole thing. You are completely powerless. So you don't have control of whether or not you pick up that bottle or not, which is completely untrue. It is absolutely a choice. If you want to be sober, you can be sober when you're ready to be sober. And unfortunately, some people never get there. Most people never get there, and they either die or end up in jail or mental institutions. That's all really true. But so you have to give up your will and accept that you have no willpower. And then you have to give up your thinking and accept that, hey, all of my thinking is wrong. My instincts are wrong. I'm selfish. I'm a piece of shit. I'm only out to get, and you have to literally start beating the hell out of yourself and really programming in that you're nothing, you have no willpower, you have no good instincts, you're gonna hurt people no matter how hard you try. But if you do these steps, it's gonna plug you into a power greater than yourself, which they call God in the steps. And for some people, it's a religious God, or you can choose your own God. But what it really is you're giving yourself up to the power of Alcoholics Anonymous. That's what it is. And you know that because what comes with this is it's recommended to go to meetings every single day. And you'll notice if you really get into this program, every time you get out of a meeting, you feel better than before you left the meeting. And so that shows you that you're dependent on meetings. So you're essentially switching from, and let me just be clear here. I did these steps as hard as I could possibly do them. I dedicated my whole life to this. I did a decade completely sober, and then I was in and out. It's long timeline, but I'm qualified to have these opinions. I have done AA the in and out way, where you're kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out, not getting results. And I've also done it where you dedicate your entire existence to adopting this mindset that you have no power, so you need to do these things to get out of your own way and let real power come in. Well, the problem is that's someone else's definition of what real power is. And the big book was written 100 years ago. It's like 90 pages that tells you everything what to do. And it turns out Bill Wilson was channeling this information. I mean, this is going to piss people off, man. So I don't know where this information is coming from. But what happens is you get to a place where if you want to feel okay, it's based on action. So the first thing you do when you wake up is right away you recognize, you pray, you recognize I'm a piece of shit. I have no willpower. I have untreated alcoholism. I always will. Please get me to bed tonight without taking a drink. God, please help me. So you start your day out desperate and afraid. And then you go meditate, try to calm yourself down, and then you go through the day desperate and afraid. This, my experience, you go through the day desperate and afraid, wondering where you're messing up and if your ego's in control, and if you are just heading towards a drink without realizing. Because that's another thing, is you're always trying to look for what angle this addiction is coming back on you. Like to the point to where if I was feeling good and happy, I would not let that be okay. I was calling people like, hey, I feel really good. I think I have a blind spot. I think I'm gonna drink and blah, 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 blah. Just insane. But if you do this, and that, which are the 12 steps, meetings all the time, and helping people, which is fantastic. That's another part of AA that is absolutely fantastic, is you get to learn what helping people looks like to go in there and get in the trenches with someone who's where you were 5, 6, 7 years ago, whatever it is, and help them out. But again, I tried to sponsor 3,000 guys. I got one through the steps. That's how rare AA is. And 3,000 is a round number. I'll just say thousands, because that is true. And I talked to, solicited, attempt to get sponsors. One dude in almost 15 years of AA, I got through the steps. So give you an idea, that I don't believe the program works. I think when you're done, you'll be done. So I don't want to repeat myself, but I got to a place where I was so afraid and I had so much anxiety and so much fear, and there wasn't enough AA activities I could do to feel okay. Meetings stopped working, prayer stopped working. This was about 5 years sober. Calling people stopped working, sponsoring stopped working, and I have more fear and anxiety and irritability and stuff than I had when I was drinking and using. And I could literally think, okay, whoa, I'm absolutely gonna drink. Like I feel this coming. I cannot live like this forever. And another thing, I'm on, and this will disqualify me in a lot of people's eyes as well in the program, and that's cool because I'm not trying to piss people off. I really feel bad. This is going to rub people wrong. I'm on psych meds, okay, and you go to some meetings, they're going to tell you you're not sober and you're not doing enough God. That's cool. That's your opinion. That is not my opinion based on my own experience. I am a believer in psych meds. I'm a believer that some people have brains that are born not wired and firing correctly, and we can get a little bit of a help in form of, so anyways, and then on top of that, there's no weed. There's nothing in, like, not even CBD. I remember when that came out, I went to a vape store and I put some on a little cotton and I took a little rip, just pure CBD, no THC at all. And in like 10 seconds, I felt this wave of relax go from my skull all the way down to my heels. And I felt this peace and calm that I hadn't felt in years and years and years. And I'd been sober a long time at this point. And I'm like, whoa. So there's stuff out there that grows in the ground that can provide this much relief, and it's not okay in AA? What the hell? So what happened is that experience happened, and then I was so beat down and afraid in AA. Whoops, one sec here, guys. I read this book called Relaxing with God, and it's by Andrew Farley, and he talks about he had this works-based relationship with God where he only had God's love and protection and care if he was doing a certain amount of things. And so I realized that's what I was doing in AA. And if you're a believer, I'm not a religious person, but if you are, that's fantastic, that's beautiful. But Jesus already came, right, to atone. Like we shouldn't have to constantly, that's a whole nother debate, because you also can't live your life knowing I can just atone each night and do whatever I want. That's not how it works, okay? But anyways, I decided to stop doing AA because I'm like, I'm for sure gonna drink doing AA, so why don't I see what the other side is like? And that means relaxing, that means meditating, that means I was doing CBD at the time, and I also stumbled into Eckhart Tolle, and I realized when that happened, I realized that, holy crap, that's what I'm doing, and that's what I've always been doing. I have never been okay sitting in the present moment, never. And I have to either hide that with drugs, or once the drugs and alcohol left my life, I had to do it with AA, but I was never okay just being in the right here, right now. So the combination of those two things, relaxing with God and Eckhart Tolle, gave me new tools to try. And I'm like, okay, so according to everyone in AA, if I go that route with these two new tools, I'm gonna die. And on the way, I'm gonna ruin my family's life. And I'm going to, just burn it all down. And then I'm either gonna end up in jail, institutions, or death. And so I decided I had to risk it because I was gonna do the same thing doing all the AA stuff. And what happened, it took about a year and a half to deprogram the fear that I was gonna drink. And the first thing that happened is I was going through the automatic thoughts of I'm selfish, I'm wrong, my first instincts are wrong, I'm gonna hurt people, and when I try, I'm a piece of shit. And I stopped and I was like, why am I saying that? Like, I have a full-time job, I'm very successful, I'm a homeowner, I'm a husband, I've never cheated, never hit her, like, I show up for my kids, I pay all my bills. Where is there selfishness in my life? Where am I a piece of shit, And so that really had me thinking. I didn't realize I was doing that to myself. And so I slowly deprogrammed all that fear thinking. And then the lockdown hit, and so there were no meetings. And I'm like, okay, let's see if this works. And it did work. I had no meetings. And I stopped calling everybody that I was associated with in AA because I couldn't handle somebody saying like, dude, you're on the wrong path. I've seen it in this person and that person. And in the meantime, I was utilizing CBD, which was giving me a complete relief from just my brain. I have this relentless survival of the fittest drive, work hard, crush, grind brain that I have not found anything that quiets it except weed. Since then, I have integrated THC, so now I just smoke weed. I love it, and it works very well for me. It's a same amount every night. It has been for years, and that's another thing, is supposedly if I did it once, it's gonna creep into every day, all day, and then I'm gonna end up drinking, I'm gonna end up back on drugs, and I'm gonna die. Well, it's been, I don't know, 5-6 years, and everything's fine, okay? So, yeah, there's a lot of sarcasm in this. Sorry, I don't mean to push negativity out through this. That was not the intention of this video, so I'm gonna try to monitor that And yeah, sorry about that, guys. But okay, so I realized I'm okay without meetings. I'm okay without AA, and that was super relieving because there wasn't meetings anyways. And so let me gather myself here. Like I said, these aren't, there's no editing here. These aren't scripted. So yeah, I still meditated. That's another thing is I still meditated. I still try to keep my side of the street clean. Like when I mess up, I do go back and try to fix it and atone. But I have a very different relationship with God, who I believe is in us. And that's a whole different story. I won't go down there, but anyways, I guess I'll wrap it up there. So I left AA because towards the end of my AA walk, and I did 15 years in there, and I had over a decade of sobriety. I'm not, and like real sobriety, and it never got easier. It sucked the whole time. Like I'd get relief from meetings, and I'd get relief if I was having sex or binge eating or doing a crazy workout or adrenaline or slamming 15 fucking Red Bulls and smoking 2 packs of cigarettes and packing dips. But it never got easy to just never have my brain slow down. And so it was miserable. And that's how I know, well, anyways, there are other methods to get sober. I don't know if this is a vlog, a diary for my thoughts. And I had so much more I wanted to say that I'm just not going to remember, but I also apologize if this came off negative. There's obviously some trauma associated with AA in me, and that came out at times, but at the end of the day, if you're like suffering and dying addiction, like go to a freaking AA meeting. Like it was a necessary thing for me at a certain point in my life. I want to be very clear. I am not saying not to go, and I'm not saying I regret going. I 100% regret staying too long. If you go to AA and you work the steps within a year and you hit meetings all the time, in 18 months, you're done. You're going to learn everything you ever need to learn in AA. And if you stick around there, you're just going to keep sharpening the same axe until it goes dull. And that's why they call it the 5-year menopause. Most people don't make it past 5 years of sobriety because all the tools aren't working, and you can only re-surrender yourself so many times. And there I go again. All right, I'm going to wrap this up. I love life now. I love not drinking, not doing hard drugs. Everything's okay. And I've learned a lot. I still talk to people from the program, had beautiful experience with other humans, and helped as many people as I could. And yeah, only one of them is still sober, which is kind of crazy. So, all right, that was a little ranty, but I'm practicing. This is new for me. All right, guys, let me know in the comments if, actually don't. I'm sorry if this pissed you off. All right, later, guys.